All right. It's December 30th, and this is the UESF bargaining team and those who've left and couldn't be with us during our winter break bargaining session. Um, and we've been at the table now for 3 days during our winter break. We wanted to let you know that these are the faces of the members who have been representing you in our bargaining sessions with SFUSD. I'm going to ask a few questions of two of our most senior bargaining team uh, members and our UESF president, Susan Solomon, and UESF paraprofessional on special assignment, Janet Eberhardt. Okay, let's get into it. Susan and Janet, like I said, this is day 3 of our winter break bargaining session. What are your impressions so far?
So I first want to say my impressions of the UESF bargaining team is I just couldn't be working with a finer group of people. Even though it's winter break, we should all be on break. We're all here, working hard, being inspiring. So that's our team. Otherwise, with 3 days of bargaining with the school district, we have been focusing very much on safety. We want our members, our students, and our community to be safe. And so to be clear, that means we wouldn't return. We're saying we'll return when it's safe, and we say that's in the orange tier. Janet?
I would agree with you, Susan. Clearly, this is a team that's dedicated to making good decisions for our members, for our students, and our families. And I decided to return during this winter break because up until December, we were bargaining issues relative to distance learning. And it was important to do that for our members so we would know how we would be informed on how we were to work during those times and conditions under pandemic. But the last 3 days for me, in my years of bargaining, I've been on the bargaining team for over 23 years. I have never been charged with having to make a decision that impacted the life of our members. So it's been very unusual for me, very different for me, not just because it's pandemic, but because of what we've been forced to deal with. Um, the district wants to open schools when it's unsafe. And I want to say that again, when it's unsafe, not just the safety that impacts us where one might get sick or ill, but people could actually die and lose their lives or impact family members who as well could lose their life. I just don't know how to do that as a member of the bargaining team. And so it has been very stressful for me and a lot of sleepless nights.
Thank you for sharing that very specific perspective and unique perspective in the current conditions that we're bargaining under and how outside of the terms and conditions of our workspace we're really forced to think about this. Which brings me to the next more specific question is what has been happening at the table then in these conditions?
So to be specific, Cassandra Curiel, who works at Viz Valley Middle School, we have been talking primarily about 3 things. One that is about distance learning, which is figuring out how to fill in the backlog for the student engagement logs that all classroom teachers have to fill in. We are probably pretty close to agreement on that, but we don't have an agreement yet. The other 2 major issues are around bus paraeducators. There are 14 of our members whose job it is to ride in small school buses to non-public settings or schools for students who get services outside of SFUSD. And we made a major shift knowing how urgent the need is for these students. We said, in this particular case, with enough safety measures in place, bus paraeducators could return in the red tier. Again, with very strict safety measures in place. And I regret to say that the district has not agreed with us on this issue either. Finally, the other big issue was the Special Education Assessment Center. We know that students with IEPs, some of them can only be assessed in person. We've worked on this a very long time. Also willing, with the input of the members who will be doing this work, by the way, to agree to go back during the red tier with many safety provisions in place, and many details that have to be worked out. We also don't have an agreement on that yet.
Okay, right. So again, thank you for that clarity.
I'd like to respond.
Yes, please, Janet.
For me, Susan, as a member of the bargaining team, and as you, our leader, I take my direction from you. And yes, we've been clear all along that safety for us meant at least the orange tier.
That's
We
right.
came back to the table during this winter break. And in order to have some movement, we were willing to at least consider red tier. I was hesitant the whole time.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good to be able to, or to be expected, I should say, to make some decisions as such, even when we know it's unsafe. I particularly was concerned because it really affected paraprofessionals who are committed to children and certainly want to see our kids back in the learning environment. But to put their lives at risk, as well as their family, I just couldn't do it. It was very hard for me to even consider red, so.
Yeah, I want to thank you for bringing that up, Janet. This is how agonizing these kinds of decisions are. We're talking about, normally in bargaining, we're talking about our livelihoods. Now we're talking about our lives.
Yes.
Which makes the district's inability to meet our basic safe and healthy measurement standards, the demands that we've put forth, even with the movement to red, that they disagreed with them.
Yeah.
When we were willing to consider it, it makes it ever more stark. Their position is to open in purple, which is
That's right. That's right.
Oh, all right. More specific to the date that we've heard about, a date that some folks have thrown around and that came up in the resolution. So a very direct question. Are UESF members returning to any in-person learning on January 5th?
No, nor January 25th. There will be no instruction at that time. We do have a few members who go into schools to work for their own workspace, as I think most of our members know. So that there's a simple answer there. Janet and Cassandra, we did leave, at least I left one detail out about something else we were bargaining over. And it was a specific case, an extraordinary case of the need for one paraeducator to go into what would be a riskier situation than anybody else. And took hours of worrying about this. And what we found out yesterday, which has really affected our level of trust when working with the school district at the bargaining table, is that the district lied to us
Mhm.
about the conditions that we were talking about. And Janet, I think it warrants talking about paraeducators yet again, and what the district's approach is when we're talking about paraeducators.
This is not just another slap in the face of total disrespect for paraeducators. The fact that it was even presented to us to want to put a paraeducator at in harm's way, but for the sake of bargaining, we were willing to hear them and try to make a concession or so. But you know what? We always do our research for ourselves. And it's sad that we are supposed to be, not just we, UESF team, but the district team as well, is supposed to be bargaining with good faith. But to find out that it was just an erroneous lie, that, hey, we did our job. And by no means are we going to consider putting any member in harm's way. This is a matter of life or death.
Right.
So no, I know I won't be returning January 25th. And we, the union, we do not support that return date at all.
Especially in light of the fact that California is recently considering a new color of purple in which to fall into, and that the dates are arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
COVID and the conditions under which this pandemic continues to ravage, not just worrying about educators, we're worried about our students, we're worried about their families, we're worried about our families, and our educators who may be in the classroom with other people's children doing the best job that they've always done, and then come home to their own families. And what kind of concessions in behavior, in emotion, in mental and psychological support is going to take place when we start to consider other health and safety guidelines that we don't agree to.
Yeah.
It seems irresponsible and unethical at best.
Our union is clear on what safety means.
Make it safe in the orange tier, and we will be back. Now, by the way, we want to get a good, solid plan in place for returning, where this bargaining team, your bargaining team, is willing to spend as much time as it takes to get a good, solid plan in place. So when it is safe, we are going to be there, and we're going to be there with open arms, delighted to see the kids we teach and miss dearly.
Yes, as well as continuing to negotiate and make better the conditions for our distance learning and those that might need to or opt to stay.
That's right.
For those families, we don't want to, concede on any quality of education for any child that might need or want to stay in distance teaching or learning.
Definitely. All of our students are all of our students. That's right.
Right. Right.
We care about you.
All of them. Well, thank you for that clarity on what's been happening as far as what we've been doing as a bargaining team and where we currently stand on our positions. So, la lucha continúa.